What was something you saw you were definitely not supposed to see? Did this except I stopped home on a break and had to go back to work almost immediately. Edited to explain why I had to go back to work. I was working 2 jobs and caring for my newborn while my wife was busy being a garbage human being. She's my ex-wife now but still garbage. She moved to Florida and upholds the stereotype. Anyway, I already knew she was garbage and had already been figuring out how to extricate myself from the relationship, while making sure that my child was cared for. When I came home it was a brief unofficial stop because I found myself in the same neighborhood, not because I was actually on break. I needed the money too much and was so sleep deprived at the time that I couldn't do anything but file it away as a problem for future me. I don't think I ever even brought it up after the fact. Anyway, I joined the military, divorced her, got custody of my child, led a pretty kick-ass life while she did meth, I guess. My brother accidentally once sent me a dick pic that was, I assume, supposed to go to one of his girlfriends. Amp, X200B. We've never spoken about it, and I'm fortunate enough to have aphantasia so I can't form mental images. The 0.3 seconds it took for me to delete it off my phone also deleted it from my brain.
Hey guys, much like you, I love reading people's stories on Ask Reddit. Unfortunately, there's a lot of weird middle school level, just thought experiment type hypotheticals like nice try Baskin Robbins. I don't find this compelling, so that's why I've made it my mission to trawl and crawl through Ask Reddit and find the very best content and put it in your ears. That's why I'm begging you, like and subscribe. If there's anything I can do to help you out, give you the kind of content that you crave to help you get through your workday, let me know in a comment, but please like and subscribe.
Sexually explicit messages on my fiancé's phone to another man. As I stated below, I did end up going through with the wedding. I know not everyone commenting on this thread would have done the same thing, but let me explain something to you. Cheating is one of the worst things you can do to someone, and I know after she did it she no longer deserved my love. I know my self-worth. I'm not stupid. But I don't believe cheating is past forgiveness. It took me a long time to forgive her, but she fought tooth and nail to show me that her mistake was forever in the past. We've been married 3 years now and life really couldn't be better. I found suggestive pics on my 15-year-old sister's phone when I was helping her fix something. Pretended I didn't see. I didn't want to shame her or anything. She has major body issues. Managed to work into conversation that dissemination of nudist underwear shots of someone under 18 counted as child porn a couple of days later. And that a friend of mine had her pics shared on the internet by her loyal 15-year-old boyfriend. I made sure she got all the info, just did it in a subtle way. She wouldn't have listened if I'd done it directly. I'm her older sister. I was 14 and on a walk with my mom. We were walking around a lake and decided to take a woodsy shortcut rather than having to walk out onto state roads. The shortcut, like I said, is woodsy, but there's still some lake cabins and a dirt road back there. Anyways, we're going through on the dirt road and there is a car parked in the middle of it, not particularly close to any of the cabins. As we pass it by, we glance in the windows out of curiosity and see a 20-something girl and guy fucking in the back seat. When my mom realizes this, she quickly pushes me on ahead, which bummed me because I wanted to be a dick and tap on the window and wave hello with a big grin. My principal bribed off an inspector and he saw me see him. We made eye contact for 10 seconds and I didn't say anything. No one knows. People are saying this is fake. Bribes are something natural in Romania, and I did exaggerate with the 10 seconds lol. We did make eye contact. What you guys need to understand is that this is happening in a third world country in a school in which most of the kids have a record. I am pretty smart, but don't get me wrong, the school and class I was in was a bad one. I was the smartest of the stupidest, you can say. My 9, that was my grade, would have been a 5 or 6 in another school, but my grades did inflate a bit from 8.23 to 9.47. Don't believe if you don't want, but I am telling you all I know. I was in elementary school playing basketball. I shot the ball, but it ended up going over the fence on the other side was someone's backyard. My teacher requested that after school I knock on the door of the house where the ball had landed to get it back, and so I did. I did not expect a woman wrapped in a towel with one of her nipples revealed to answer the door. I was shocked but carried on with my mission. For those wondering, she stated she did not have the ball. Damn, that is rough. A local guy where I live lost his mother, wife and all 3 of their children in a bad car accident recently. They interviewed him during one of the court proceedings during the driver who didn't die and is being charged with due vehicle homicide. This was months later, maybe 6 or so. He was absolutely defeated, where he was once a vibrant, proud young father. Crushed me in a similar way as your story. Leaving work late one evening, I saw the HR director and CFO in a dark office shredding papers. No, that's not an euphemism. I didn't say anything but quietly walked on down the hall. 2 weeks later we were raided by the SEC and several people were charged with cooking the books. That's rough. That reminds me of me walking out into the hallway and seeing my dad hit my mom for the first time when I was like 10. I couldn't sleep and I've always been a mama's boy and heard her crying. She was on the floor and my dad had a most evil glare in his eye. I just ran back to my room scared, and cried for my mom.
Do you have any idea how convenient it is to use a Keurig machine for brewing coffee or tea? Personally, I gave up coffee a long time ago, but I was able to get a great, delicious cup of coffee in just seconds with no cleanup, no extra work using a Keurig machine and a K-cup. And now I use my Keurig machine to brew tea, loose leaf tea, every day that I drink. And I also use it to make oatmeal and, anything else that you can put hot water into. So if you don't have a Keurig machine in your house, you're missing out. Try my affiliate link below in the description of the video, and you too can enjoy a great cup of coffee in seconds, any time of day.
GT, seeing your parents in emotional pain can be rough. I was raised by my grandparents and was, for all intents and purposes, their 11th child. My uncle committed suicide when I was 12. It was the second child they'd lost, but the first death I was alive for. Hearing my grandmother break down and fall to her knees sobbing uncontrollably and seeing my otherwise stoic and rather emotionless grandfather's shoulders move because of how much he fought to control his sobbing is something that I haven't been able to scrub from my memory in 29 years. Those moments are as clear as any other memory I have. When we're young, we tend to think of our parents as a lot more than they really are. As a parent now, I've learned just how wrong I was and how good my grandparents were at reacting to their mistakes and the mistakes their children made. I owe so much of who I am to them. Happened to me one. I was bored, so was browsing through the network shares on a PC we used to store machine recipes. Found a spreadsheet with everyone's pay details, overtime, etc. So I emailed the IT guy and told him it probably should be at least passworded, and for my trouble I was threatened with being fired for hacking. Nice, millions being deleted from the accounting software and books being reprinted without those money so that the company wouldn't get a fine for tax evasion, or go bankrupt, I guess. I was the one in charge of doing it and I couldn't tell anyone what I was working on for 2 weeks. I was young and I didn't know better. Fuck those guys. Just to clarify the doing it. I'm not an accountant but an IT guy. I didn't reprint the books or signed anything. I was only asked to delete the data from the system. When I was about 16, I was snooping in my parents' wardrobe. Found a diary written by my mother when she was 14, from the year 1970. Read some beautiful and brilliantly written entries about meeting and dating my dad, who was 16 at the time. Had to read a little between the lines in some slightly later entries as they were written with such flowery language. In one such entry, all of a sudden she discloses that she's had an abortion. Performed by my grandfather. An anesthesiologist. She never told anyone. I rely heavily on GPS even when going to places I've been before. I forget I've met people, and if I see someone, like a colleague, outside of the place I normally see them, in the grocery store instead of at work, then I probably won't recognize them. Lists are a must because I forget everything. I don't remember many of the experiences I've had, and those I do remember aren't in first person, so, for example, my memory of my wedding is just a narrative I've told myself about it. I don't actually remember being there or how it felt. AMP, X200B. Strangely, learning processes such as new computer programs or how to work machinery comes very quickly to me, but, on the flip side, I also forget it really quickly when I haven't used it in a couple of months, so my learning is never for life. AMP, X200B. On the positive side, traumatic experiences don't stay with me emotionally, and I live completely in the present. I don't know what your sister's paperwork was like, but I had a miscarriage a few weeks ago and my paperwork only says complete abortion. No one except my husband knew I was pregnant, so no one knew I miscarried, but if anyone saw my paperwork they would think I had an abortion. Worked for a downtown metropolitan hotel for a long time, and I've seen a lot I wasn't supposed to see. Probably the worst was a kid with an old man. Checked this guy in at like 1 a.m, not uncommon because people travel to different times, but he was alone. Like an hour later he asked for something like a towel or blanket. Anyways, dispatched our runner to deliver it. After the runner comes to me and says he thinks something is wrong because he caught a glimpse of someone and the old guy was trying hard to block the entrance. Being that we were supposed to take stuff like human trafficking seriously, I asked our maintenance to cut his power so we would get a call to come up to try and fix the problem. He does and I go up with him to apologize for the inconvenience because the guy was also a tour tier member. Sure enough, we hear a kid in the bathroom hiding. Tried to ask who the kid was, and the old guy tried everything to shut us down from throwing his status around to bribing. Called the cops and let them deal with it. Didn't expect this to gain so much traction. Here's some additional info for people that have been asking. I don't recall the specific charge, or if I was even told so. Use your imagination. I don't know the age of the child. I only saw him briefly one time when the cops showed up. I don't know the age of the guy. This was in Southern California, as specific as it'd like to be. I used to work in the basement of a pretty large hospital doing engineering work. They'll often cart dead bodies out of the hospital through the basement, so it's usually not a big deal. You just tend to try and ignore it. One time, as I was finishing up a test in a pretty remote room, I walked out to an entire security detail escorting a body. I just got immediately shoved back into the room, so nothing really exciting happened, but I always wonder who that could have been. I don't know if I wasn't supposed to see this, as I can't figure out any reasoning behind this beyond maybe exhibitionism? Though really I don't want to put exhibitionists in the same group as this couple, because goodness gracious. I had a patient who was close to death and we called her daughter. She came and we set her up in the room to stay until her mother passed. She brought her boyfriend, which is not abnormal. I walked in to do my routine check and they were having sex on the cot that was set up for her maybe 15 feet from her dying mother. I mostly didn't want to see, so I am answering this wrong. My third job I had, at 17, was at a pizza place. I had 2 managers, one male, one female, and they were both married to other people. Well, I went to hand in my drawer at the end of one shift and walked into the office, and there they were just making out with some heavy petting. Their spouses found out. They left their families, and then those 2 managers got married to each other. As far as I know, they're still together. I am getting a lot of people sending me messages that are insulting me for having my third job by 17. Like, wow, I didn't realize all you Redditors were so accomplished by 17. But my first job was detasseling, like many other kids in my small Midwestern town. Then, I worked concessions at an outdoor pool. Once again, Midwestern town, so this outdoor pool was only open during the summer. So, then by 17, I needed another job, and thus, I arrived at the door of a Pizza Hut. Also no, I didn't tell their families. I was 17, I didn't even know these people's spouses. Their families found out, because they told them themselves, because they both wanted divorces from their respective spouses.
If there's ever a fly, or a mosquito, or like a yellow jacket, or some weird unknown insect in my house, my wife will not leave me alone until it is dead, and she will blame me personally for having a house that an insect entered. The only way that I'm able to buy peace for myself so that I can work on this YouTube channel that you enjoy is by using an electric fly swatter with an affiliate link in the description. The way this fly swatter works is that you hold down the little button and then you whack the fly as if it were a tennis ball, and it looks like a tennis racket. And what the electricity does is it stuns the insect or kills it so that you can clean it up easily. And the fact that it's a tennis racket gives you a much better chance of actually hitting the insect. And I found it invaluable, and I hope that you will decide to also use it in your home. And, if you're like a teenage boy, you can also whack other teenage boys with it. We used to do that in the Boy Scouts.
Back when I was a teenager, we hosted a New Zealander at our house for a couple weeks. Guy gets to our place after the flight, and about 10 minutes later I'm walking around my house to see where Hess at. The door to his room is partially open, and the dude is laying face down on the bed and humping the ever-loving fuck out of a pillow. I backed away slowly like Homer when he saw Apu cheating on his wife. I felt bad for the pillow. For all of you asking, no, it was not a wool pillow and it didn't resemble a sheep. I caught a ball he threw out to get an audience participant, and since apparently I was too young at the time, my mom went up. She was one of 8 volunteers. He went down the line and gave them all envelopes. All of them were told to think of a number. He then instructed them to say the number they were thinking and then open the envelope, which had a number written inside. Every single one was right. Couldn't fucking believe it. She said she had no idea how and acted amazed. I did some magic and knew how most tricks were done or had a general sense of how they worked, but seeing one like this dumbfounded me. I figured when they did shit like that on TV it was all paid actors, but it was my mom, so it had to be real, and I for the life of me could not fathom it. 10 years later that show got brought up. My mom says, oh yeah, no, he just told us all what number to say. Won a used laptop from my female friend in a bet. She had a bunch of nudes on it. A lot of people are asking what the bet was. I drank a pot of Béarnaise for it. She was pretty drunk while making the bet, but I came around next morning to collect cause I didn't drink that pot of béarnaise for nothing. If anybody wants to know how to drink a pot of béarnaise, you just pretend it's soup. Also, stop pinging me asking for the nudes. I deleted them as soon as I saw them. Happened when I was 7. I found the Tom and Jerry DVD I had lost, in the back of a drawer. In celebration, I decided to watch it again. By the time my mother walked into the living room and saw me watching a threesome, I was already scarred for life. She took away the entire DVD collection. I found invitations to my big surprise 18th birthday just lying on the floor a few weeks before the event. I had to act surprised when the time came to walk through the door to the party, which I did. The only thing is, my twin brother also knew, which I didn't know at the time, and let's just say his acting skills are really bad. So we both found out in different ways about the surprise party, but neither of us knew that we found out about it. So when I walked through the door for the surprise, I could tell from his reaction that he knew.
Do you have any idea how convenient it is to use a Keurig machine for brewing coffee or tea? Personally, I gave up coffee a long time ago, but I was able to get a great, delicious cup of coffee in just seconds with no cleanup, no extra work, using a Keurig machine and a K-cup. And now I use my Keurig machine to brew tea, loose leaf tea, every day that I drink. And I also use it to make oatmeal and, anything else that you can put hot water into. So if you don't have a Keurig machine in your house, you're missing out. Try my affiliate link below in the description of the video, and you too can enjoy a great cup of coffee in seconds any time of day.